loud voice. Go ahead, sir.
Section author reasons for dry purification, tayammum.
The reasons for tayammum. Yes, go ahead, please.
The reasons for tayammum, that is, the matters that make it permissible by three.
Three things make the tayammum permissible.
The absence of water, even if the reason he doesn't have water is because it was not available at the normal price.
The absence of water, even if the reason he did not have water was because it was not available at the normal price. That means either there was no water, like he's in the desert, or there was some water that someone was selling and he was selling it for more than the normal price, the market price. Then you're not obligated to buy that water, and therefore you won't have water. The water will be absent. So that means it's not obligatory on you to spend your money for that water, which is more expensive than the normal price. But you have to look into the time and place in which your situation is. So water in one place might be more expensive than the place you came from. Or water at one time might be more expensive than another time. So you look into the time and place, and if the only water is available, if the only water that's available is water that is more expensive than the market price for that time and place, then you're not obligated to buy it, and you can make tayammum. Go ahead. Whether a person was a traveler or not. Yes, go ahead.
Sickness in such a way that using the water harms him.
Sickness in such a way that using the water is harmful to the person, like the water deforms him, for example. Or the water gives him open sores, for example. He got hit in the head. Let's say you found some water, you were in some weird situation in which the water that was available for you, if you put it on your skin, it will give you open sores. Then you don't have to use that water. Or it will deform you in some way, in a strong way. Then you don't have to use that water. Or if you're sick, and if you use the water, it'll make your sickness last longer. Or it might not make your sickness last longer, but it will increase the pain of your sickness. Then you're not obligated to use the water. Yes? It deforms you. There's details, which we're skipping for now. So when it comes to sickness, you have basically two issues. Either sickness here means either deformity or sickness. Meaning, instead of using the word sickness, we could use the word harmful. If the water is harmful, then you don't have to use it. You can make tayammum. How would it be harmful? By either deforming you, for example, or giving you sores, for example, or by increasing your sickness in power and strength and pain, or prolonging your sickness. Then in all those cases, you don't have to use the water. You can make tayammum. Go ahead. Or needing the water, even though it's there. So you have water and you can use it, but you need it. Then you don't have to use it. Go ahead. Yes, like he needs it for drinking it. He knows that if he uses this water for wudu, he's going to run out of water and die of thirst. Before he can make it to the next water spot, for example, if he uses this water for other than drinking, he'll die of thirst, for example. So then he preserves his water. It's not a condition that he's going to has to be thirsty right now, even if he anticipates that he'll be thirsty later. Then he can save his water and make tayammum. Or he needs that water for his animal, like his respectable animal, like his horse, or even a dog. He might need that dog. So he can save the water for his dog, but not for a pig, for example.
Does it mean like all dogs like pets too, or just the one like for a blind person who uses?
No, not just for a blind person, but at the time, just take it like this. His respectable animal. That includes a dog without us going into any details. Go ahead.
Section conditions of dry purification.
So now you know the reasons for one making dry purification. In other words, tayammum is an emergency purification. Okay? There's some cases in which a person makes an emergency purification. Tayammum is one of them. And another case a person makes emergency purification is when? I'll give you 30 seconds. Yes?
What was the question?
What's another case in which a person makes an emergency purification? 25 seconds. What's the emergency? 15 seconds. 5 seconds.
No.
When the person has a perpetual impurity, he has an impurity that won't go away. For example, his urine always drips and it never stops. Or for example, a person like a woman is experiencing sickness bleeding. The bleeding doesn't stop. She knows it's not menstruation. She learned the rules, so she knows it's not menstruation. So it's sickness bleeding, for example. Or a person who always passes gas. Every now and then, a bubble pops out. He can't stop it. So this means he's always in impurity. Meaning, by the time he make wudu and pray, if he can't do that. He can't make wudu and pray without his urine dripping, or without his gas passing, or without the blood flowing. No. Now he needs to make emergency purification. Okay? Tayammum is one case of emergency purification. He can't use the water and he can't skip the prayer. Or he can't find the water and he can't skip the prayer also. So he makes an emergency purification. Taharatu darura. Taharatu darura. It means a purification of necessity. And also, a person, his urine keeps dripping, but he can't skip the prayer. Or a woman's bleeding doesn't stop and she's not menstruating and she can't skip the prayer also. And she can't skip fasting. So in these cases, the people make taharatu darura. As for the bleeding and urine, another time. But just to make you understand the case of tayammum. So you can't make tayammum for no reason. You can't say, I want to get some extra thawab. I can still make wudu, but let me just make some tayammum. Come on, guys, let's finish playing. No. All right. Now let's talk about the conditions for tayammum. Okay, sir, go ahead.
Conditions of dry purification tayammum. And the conditions of tayammum are 6.
There are 6 conditions. Yes, go ahead.
It is performed with pure, not contaminated with filth, unused soil, i.e., not soil that fell from an organ
An organ
that was
previously.
previously tayammum.
Yes, so the first one is to perform the tayammum with pure, unused soil. Pure means what?
Clean.
It's right there in the book. Not contaminated with filth. That's the way the explanation works. All right? The explanation, what's not in bold, is explanation for what's in bold. All right? That it is performed with pure, not contaminated with filth, unused soil. What does that mean? Not soil that fell from an organ when previously making tayammum. So if a person made tayammum and some of the soil that he used for his face fell down, then he doesn't collect that soil again and make tayammum with it. Just like what? Just like wudu. You can't use used water, and likewise you can't use used soil. You can't use used water and you can't use used soil.
if somebody got lost?
It's a crazy question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What if somebody got lost?
Next time ask me only normal questions, but I'll let you slide this time. Go ahead.
What if somebody got lost, like, the Arctic?
Okay.
And there's no soil. And you can't stand it. What would you do?
He'll get the snow and melt it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes?
It's off some topic.
Wait, then wait till the end. Write your question down so you don't forget it, and then forget it so that you focus on the lesson. Go ahead, number 2.
That it would not be mixed with powder.
Go ahead, number 2.
That it would not be mixed with powder or the like, such as ash.
Yes, it's also a condition for the tayammum that the soil is not mixed with powder or the like, such as ashes. Meaning, the soil should not be mixed with something that's just as fine, as small and fine as the soil is itself. If the soil is mixed with something that's not as fine as soil is, like rocks and twigs, then that doesn't affect. Okay, because it doesn't mix in the soil actually. But if there's something very fine in the soil like ashes, for example, there was a campfire and the ashes got into the soil, then you're not going to use that soil that has ashes in it. Or for example, there was a construction site or a building and some of the plaster crumbled and the plaster is existing in the soil around the building, you're not going to use soil like that. Or for example, somebody was walking through the woods and he dropped his canister of baby powder and his baby powder spilled all over the soil, then you're not going to use soil like that. What? You never know, man. So, okay. And for your information, you also don't use soil from a grave that has been dug up. Don't use soil from a grave that has been dug up. Not if it's a fresh grave. If it's a fresh grave and they just put the soil back on top, no problem. But if it's a grave that soil has been turned after the body was decaying in there, then if there's a grave and the soil of that grave has been turned, then don't use that soil for
What do you mean has been turned?
like people dug it out. Maybe they dug it out and filled it back in after the body decayed.
Well, how about if it's like fresh there now?
If the body didn't decay yet, no problem. So it won't have any of the najasa from the dead body, because when the body starts decaying, pus comes out and nasty stuff. So you don't want to like wipe your face with that stuff, you know? Okay. All right, go ahead. Number 3.
That it would be performed by 2 strikes of the face and hands.
That it would be performed by 2 strikes for the face and hands.
So the animal would not be valid if he wipes his face and hands with only strike.
With only?
1 strike.
With only 1 strike. 1 strike is not enough. Even if you manage to wipe your face and your hands with 1 strike, it's not sufficient, because the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam said, "At-tayammumu darbatan." The tayammum is 2 strikes. So then you have to do 2 strikes, because the Prophet said so. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Removal of any unexcused filth from the body before starting with tayammum.
And removing any unexcused filth. That's another reason to keep your water. Yani, to use it. You need it. You need it for what? For removing najasa before you pray. So instead of making wudu and praying with najasa, you use the water to remove the najasa and then you make tayammum. Okay? Go ahead.
Making a determination for the prayer direction before performing.
making a determination for the prayer direction before performing it. Before performing what? Tayammum. And this is something the scholars differed about in the Shafi'i school. Some of them said before you make tayammum, you make sure that you have your qibla. Some of them said no, you don't have to. You can make tayammum and then find your qibla. It's not a condition. Thank you, sir. Yes?
No.
You can take this way or that way. But it's always better to avoid the difference in opinion. So if you want to get the reward for avoiding the difference in opinion, find your qibla first and then make tayammum. Go ahead.
And that it would be after the entrance of the prayer time. So if you make tayammum for example, before the entrance of the time, then it's not valid.
Yes.
And
Hold on. You have to make sure that when you make tayammum, you're making it after the prayer time set in. Why? I'll tell you the secret behind it. The secret is that tayammum is an emergency purification. And as an emergency purification, you must wait for the prayer time to enter. Because if the prayer time didn't enter, then there's no emergency. There's no need to make the purification if the prayer time isn't in. So that's why you need to wait for the prayer time to come in.
And he would perform tayammum for every obligation, and he can pray with one tayammum whenever he wants. Optional sunnah prayers.
Yes, with one tayammum, you can do one obligation. One tayammum is good for one obligation. One emergency purification is good for one obligation. But you can do as many sunnahs as you want. So, for example, if a person had to make tayammum, he waits for dhuhr to come in, then he makes his tayammum, and he prays, for example, 2 rak'ahs before dhuhr, says the salam, then he can pray the 4 rak'ahs of dhuhr, and he can pray 2 more rak'ahs sunnah, then 2 more rak'ahs sunnah, and as many sunnahs as he wants to. And for example, he can carry the mushaf, carry the Quran with that tayammum that he made. And then he can do anything sunnah, but only one obligation. And then when Asr comes in, he has to do it all over again.
Is it sunnah or
He has to. Tayammum is good for only one obligation, only. You can do one obligation with tayammum and do as many sunnahs as you want. When the next obligatory prayer comes in, then you do it all over again. Even if you didn't even break your tayammum by going to the bathroom or anything. You have to do it all over again.
So it's like when the next obligation comes in second year.
I haven't heard of that. If you want to say it's like that, it's kind of like that, but I'm not saying it is that. Okay? Say, for example, a person had makeup prayers to do. He made tayammum. And with his tayammum, he prayed, let's say he missed the whole day of prayer. Messing around, watching the Olympics or something, didn't fear Allah, and was too lazy to get up and pray. But he had enough energy to get up and go to the bathroom. He had enough energy to make himself a couple of meals too. Had enough energy to talk on the phone and all of that other stuff, but he didn't pray. Then the next day he repented, he felt bad, so he wanted to make up his prayers. So he said, okay, I missed 5 prayers. Then he woke up and he wanted to repent, and he prayed Fajr, that was in. He made tayammum and prayed Fajr. Now he wants to make up his prayer, so he wants to make up a Fajr that he missed. Is this Fajr an obligation?
Yes.
So what does he need to do?
Make a new one.
Make a whole new tayammum. Because tayammum is good for only one obligation. Then he's going to say salam. Now he wants to pray dhuhr. What's he going to do? Make a whole new tayammum. Even though it's back one after the next, back to back. Tayammum is good for only one obligation, but as many sunnahs as you want. Yes. Go ahead, please. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, sir. Nice and loud, please. The obligations of dry purification, meaning the integrals. Go ahead. So the first of the 5 tayammum integrals is the intention, which is, now I make tayammum to make prayer permissible for me. And he has to have that intention from transferring the soil to his face. And the transfer is the second integral. So it means that the person, for example, he strikes the area where there's soil, so that the soil will stick to his palms. And then, with the transfer of the soil, he's making his intention. Bismillah. And he wipes his face. The intention has to be throughout the transfer and along with wiping his face. He has the intention to make prayer permissible for him. And he doesn't have the intention to lift his impurity, because tayammum does not lift the impurity. Tayammum will not get you out of the state of impurity. You'll still be in hadath. The tayammum only makes it permissible for you to pray. Go ahead, please. Yes. And along with the first wiping of the face. So the intention is with the transfer of soil. So transferring the soil is a condition. It's an integral. You have to transfer the soil. It's not enough for you to go to the place where there's soil and just put your face there. That's not sufficient. You have to transfer the soil. Okay? Even if you take it out of the air. Even if the soil is blowing in the wind and you put your hands up and the soil stuck to your palms, then when you transfer, you make your intention. Bismillah. And wipe over the face. That's not enough because you didn't transfer. It's not enough for you to stand there and let the wind blow the soil into your face. There has to be naql. There has to be a transfer of the soil with an intention. Go ahead. So the fourth is to wipe the hands and the elbows. You have to wipe your face just like in wudu, and you have to wipe your hands and your elbows just like in wudu, and that's it, and keep the order. Go ahead. Yes, you have to make sure the hands are not advanced before the face. Yes. And to answer the sister's question, soil does not flow, so you don't have to make the soil flow. But you do have to cover all of your face and all of your hands with soil. It's recommended when you hit your area with the soil to knock your hands to get rid of any extra soil so you don't have too much. And then you need to cover your whole face with soil. Now, since soil doesn't flow, that unleashes or unlocks the secret of why your soil can't be mixed with anything that is just as fine as soil is. Because soil does not flow like water does. And since soil doesn't flow, then you need to make sure that you're using only pure soil, because unmixed soil, because when you wipe, if that soil had in it ashes or powder or something, who knows? Maybe that one spot where there's a piece of ash is that one little dot where there's a piece of ash is the one spot that was never touched by soil. You understand? Because soil doesn't flow. So you need to make sure that it's not mixed with anything that's just as fine as soil is, and then you wipe your face and you wipe your hands, and make sure you cover all of it. And of course, you don't have to get inside of your beard with the soil. It's enough to wipe over it. Thank you. New reader, please. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
Right here, invalidators.
Section.
Invalidators of dry purification.
Now we're going to talk about the things that invalidate the dry purification. Go ahead.
Tayammum. And the invalidators of tayammum are three. Whatever invalidates wudu.
Anything that breaks wudu will break your tayammum.
Apostasy.
Apostasy, going out of Islam, will break your tayammum. Go ahead.
Imagining water, and even more so, being certain about the existence of water while not in the prayer.
Now, what if a person imagined that there's water? Is that enough to break your tayammum? First of all, you need to know that there's two basic reasons. We said three in the beginning, but without details, there's two basic reasons for making tayammum. Either you can't find water or you can't use water. Either you can't find it or you can't use it. Those are the two basic reasons. Now, for the one who can't use water, then we're not talking about him like if he's sick. If he's sick, we're not talking about him. We're talking about a person who, he can use water, but he can't find any. Now, this one who can't find any water, what if he made tayammum and then before he prayed, he imagined that there was water? So, like for example, we make tayammum and then he wanted to say, right before he said Allahu Akbar, someone said, I have water. The tayammum is invalidated. Because if someone says I have water, what's he going to imagine? The existence of water. So then he'll go and check it out. You got water? Nah, I was just kidding, man. Tell him over again now. Validated my tayammum, man. Or for example, he made tayammum and he didn't start praying yet. Before he prayed, he saw a caravan go past. Said he was ready. What might he imagine if he saw a caravan? That they have water, right? Say, hey, those guys might have water, because that's what's on his mind. I don't have any water. He saw a caravan go past. They broke my wudu. Let's see if you got any water. I made my tayammum. You guys got any water? No. Allahu Akbar. Then he saw a mirage. Was that water? Water! No! There's no water there. It was only a mirage. Blue spot. Huh? What'd you say?
How about if like he imagined, you said imagine water, for example, how about if he's just like in his prayer and he's just thinking about the ocean?
All what we said is what?
Imagine water.
Wait, at what time?
Before the prayer.
Before the prayer. That's why I keep saying he didn't say his takbir yet. He didn't start praying yet. Hey man, I got water. Broke his tayammum because he imagined water.
So while he's praying,
I didn't get there yet. Okay? So it's clear so far? Alright, we're just talking about before he prays so far. And if this is the case of imagining water, then what about knowing that there's water or seeing the water? For example, now he got his tayammum broke and he got to make a new tayammum. Then it started drizzling on him. His tayammum is broken because he saw water.
I'm saying imagining though.
Yeah, we finished imagining now. I just told you imagining. How could he imagine that there's water before he prays? We didn't talk about the case of if he started praying yet. Before he prays, how would he imagine water? Like if somebody said, I have water.
No, not like somebody saying he has water.
That's an example. What's another case of imagining water? Like he saw a caravan. So he might imagine there's water. Or like, for example, he saw a mirage.
He didn't see anything. He was thinking about an ocean full of water.
So did he imagine water?
Yeah.
Then he broke his tayammum if he didn't start praying yet.
But you can't kind of stop your mind from thinking about something.
Just take it for now. And if you need to make tayammum because you found yourself in an area where there's no water, you found yourself in the middle of the desert, you're like, how did I get here? Then I guess you're going to start walking. Or maybe you just might sit there where you are, confused. You're going to start walking. Hey, there's no water around here. Time for prayer. You look, you didn't find any water, so there's no water around. You can do more than 2, but you can't do less than 2. Allahu Akbar, started praying without imagining water. Huh? No, being thirsty doesn't break his tayammum. Being thirsty or thinking about being thirsty does not break his tayammum. Go ahead, reader.
Oh. Imagining water, and even more so being certain about the existence of water while not in the prayer.
While not in the prayer. That's there because that means there's a difference. There's a difference between the person who didn't pray yet, or maybe he finished his prayer even, but he's not praying. He made tayammum and he didn't urinate or pass gas or anything. And he's not praying. Then among the things that will invalidate his tayammum is imagining water, or even more than that, if imagining water breaks the tayammum, then knowing about the existence of water breaks it more so. It's clear?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And as for him knowing about the existence of water or imagining that it existed while he's praying.
While he's praying. Now what about the case that he actually started praying? Go ahead.
While he is praying, then that does not invalidate his tayammum unless he performed tayammum in a place where water usually exists, but he cannot find water.
Yes. But what if he already started praying? What would invalidate his tayammum? It would invalidate his tayammum if he made tayammum in a place where usually there is water. So, we said usually the person either makes tayammum because he can't use it or he can't find it. Can't use water or he can't find water. Now, we're not talking about the one who can't use it because he can't use it. So what else is he going to do? We want to now talk about the one who can't find it. So the one who can't find it, what's one of the things that breaks his tayammum? One of the things that breaks his tayammum is that he imagined water. Or he knows that there's water. But this is before he prays or when he's not praying. What about if he is praying, then it doesn't break his tayammum to imagine water. He already is praying right now. It does not break his tayammum to imagine there's water or know there's water, unless, except in one case, which is that you made tayammum in a place where usually there is water. So you made tayammum in a place where usually there is water, but you couldn't find any, so you made tayammum, and then you started your prayer, and while you were praying, you knew there was water there, for example. Then what happens? your whole prayer is invalidated.
You stop in the middle?
Yes. Your prayer is over. It's invalidated because your tayammum is invalidated. Yes. Where were you? Were you in a place where usually there's water, or you're in a place where usually there's no water? If you're in a place where usually there's water, you're going to have to make your prayer up anyway. If you make tayammum in a place where usually there's water, you're going to have to make your prayer up later. And that's why, if you knew about the water while you were praying, your prayer is just automatically broken. Because there's no point in finishing a prayer that you're going to have to make it up, and you can pray it right now. You understand? Got that? Tayammum is really a nice chapter. It kind of opened your mind up to some aspects of life that you might not experience usually. And there's another case of a person who makes tayammum, which is the one who can't wash one of his organs because, for example, he has a cast on or something like that. But we're not going to talk about that. Just know. Question? Any question? Yes?
What is an example is usually not water, and while he was praying, he had his water. Would that be the example?
No.
Oh, the prayer?
No.
Would that be the example?
No, it would not. Not if he started praying. If he made tayammum and he started praying in a land where usually there's no water, and while he was praying, he knew about the existence of water, it does not break his tayammum, and that's exactly what's written right here. And as for him knowing about the existence of water or imagining that it existed while he was praying, then that does not invalidate his tayammum unless he performed tayammum in a place where usually water exists. All right? Yes, ma'am.
How about if he's just like reciting with it? So if he imagined water while he's reciting, does he stop reciting?
Is he praying?
No, he's reciting.
Then what's the judgment of the one who made tayammum and he imagined water while he's not praying? It invalidates his tayammum. As we just said it right now. Said right here. Among the invalidators is imagining water. Even more so, being certain about the existence of water while not in the prayer. In the case he made tayammum due to the absence of water. But not because he couldn't use it, because there was none. Okay? Okay? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
No, the question could be, let me write it down.
Go ahead.
Okay. If like a dog licks you, and then you're supposed to use soil and water to clean it off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, like with the soil, can you like mix